Welcome back to another video, another game where we probably should have got something more from it, but is it a good point? You know, is it a bad point? Should we have got something more from the game? Did we do enough to get something from that game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm a bit mixed with all of it really. I think, you know, you get a point down to 10 men and you see a few of the other results and you say, well, it's not a bad result against a team who's on good form. I think they had one defeat in the last 12 Wimbledon, so a team who's on decent form. And it's a tough one to grasp because we didn't do enough to go and win the game before Jamie Walker got sent off. On the red card, it was a stupid foul. I don't think any of us can have any complaints. The first yellow probably were on the edge of maybe being sent off. And then the second one, you know, it was late, it was clumsy, it was a stupid foul. And it put us on the back foot by doing it. So I can't have any complaints with it. The only thing I could say is could Hughes have brought him off instead of bringing Costello off instead. You know, when you've got a player in your midfield who's tenacious, wants to go into challenges, who's on a yellow, by doing that, you know, you've got to be looking at bringing him off around that period of time when he did get sent off. So I think Hughes maybe could have brought him off, maybe, but then it's a tough one to say. He'll be thinking that now as well. And on the referee, you know, was he a bit harsh? Could he have been a bit more lenient with the second yellow, maybe? But we can't have any complaints with it. It were a clear red, it was a stupid foul, and we've got to move on with it. We've got the point, we defended well towards the end, but before then, you know, it were 0-0, and we don't do enough to take chances, we don't do enough to create chances. We've got a load of quality players on that pitch, Jamie Walker, Isa, Oliver, and Costello. You know, some real quality on there. Bench, you know, you've got players like Pereira, Nevers. You know, you've got some really good players in and around that team, and we're not quite using them right. You know, personally, I like Chapman. I know a lot don't. He's a bit of a divider at the minute. He always creates some, even though his end product's a bit off. He gets into tight places, and I think we missed him a bit today. But I know a lot don't like him because of his end product. But let me know what you think of him. So it's a tough one. We didn't create enough chances, and then we had a couple of half chances. Oliver's header at the back post, which he missed. You know, could he have done more to get on that? It's hard to think of the chances we didn't take because, I mean, we had 11 shots, 4 on target. We just had more possession with 54%. They had 15 shots, 3 on target. So it was quite a close game and probably deserved to be a draw. But the defending towards the end of the game were brilliant. You know, a few last-ditch blocks, a few last-ditch tackles, and then, you know, the couple of saves Lewis made towards the end probably got us a point from that game. But I just think, you know, looking back at that first half and the beginning to the second half, we weren't good enough. And again, it's points dropped, and in games that we shouldn't be. This draw and then the Rochdale defeat looks bad, you know, but in the context of the red card, it's no bad point. We've got Carlisle next, then Stockport on the Tuesday after that. We've got to be picking up we need 6 points from that. I mean, forget 6 points from that. You know, that draw against Wimbledon looks good, but they are tough games. I mean, Stockport, they're not far away from the playoffs. They could go on a bit of a run. Hopefully we do. Carlisle are 4th, I think, and above us. And then we've got Mansfield on the 4th of February. You know, 3 tough. Well, you could look further. But actually, we've got some really tough games coming up. We've got Carlisle, Stockport, Mansfield, Stevenage, Tranmere, who, again, they're only 5 points off us, Barrow and Doncaster. I mean, you know, there's a couple of mid-table teams who are a few points away from us. But I think, you know, come March, see how we do in those games in February, in the back end of January. But come March, I think we'll see where we are this season. If we get through those games with a few wins and maybe a couple of draws, and, you know, if we lose one, that's good. If we're inconsistent throughout them games, we'll be mid-table, and then we'll be relying on playing, you know, the teams in the bottom half and getting through them. I think we've got a run of games in us, but we don't want it to go down to those last 4 games where we've got to play Swindon, Northampton and Leyton Orient, because them 3 are going to be up there. So we've got to go on a run of games, and it's got to start soon. because we've got to start flicking that switch. There's loads of players in that team who aren't taking enough risks. There's loads of players in that team who, like I say, just aren't doing enough. They are putting 100% effort in, I don't believe. But yeah, we're joint 7th now with 40 points. We're still only 6 points behind Northampton due to them losing their last 2 games. I think Leyton Orient drew today against Barrow. 5 games in League 2 today had red cards in them. So I don't see Leyton Orient really falling away now. I think Stevenage, they could, but I don't think they will. Northampton could. We've just got to concentrate on ourselves. We've got to get some wins, to stay in that top 7. But we've got some big games coming up, so it'll be interesting to see how we're doing them. But yeah, the performance weren't good enough. There's a few players who aren't putting the effort in, and I also think we've got a few players who we aren't getting the best out of them quality-wise. But into the player ratings, Harry Lewis gets an 8 man of match. I mean, he made at least 2 really good saves towards the back end, and it's just his whole character and his whole performance in general. Accurate passing, wasting time, and them big saves towards the end of a match. He's the only player who's consistently played well, and touch wood, he hasn't made a mistake yet. Which I might have just cursed it, but hopefully I did touch wood. But he's someone who's constantly performing for us and putting the effort in. And then into his defence, we've got Brad Halliday, who gets a 6 because I could have given him a 5, but I sympathise, that he didn't have a winger with him or someone supported him. The only player who half supported him was Smallwood and Sutton when he came on. So going forward, he can be a bit vulnerable when we're defending because someone doesn't always cover for him. And then going forward, he didn't have any help from a winger. But again, he's one of those players who ain't taking the risk. I don't think he has the confidence to put a cross in. He's solid defensively, but going forward, he just needs to take a few more risks and put a few more crosses in and see where they end up. When you've got a player like Oliver up there, and if you get a few bodies in the box, it could bounce anywhere, and Oliver could, win the header. And then into the other defence, you got Matty Platt, who had a solid game again, cutting out a few passes. It's just a bit annoying that he's so no nonsense. Take a touch sometimes or play into midfield. I think he needs to compose himself a bit, but he always gets his foot onto the cross, and he seems a bit quicker than I actually think sometimes. I think he got in Critchlow's way for one time, but Lewis's composure again got us bailed us out a bit. And then he did save Critchlow from getting a red card by being the last man behind him. So I think he had a solid game, and I'll give him a 7. Critchlow gets a 7 as well because the last ditch defending, putting his body on the line, showing a lot of effort. I think he could have got sent off for that rugby tackle on the halfway line, but he didn't, and he took the booking. It were a good foul when you see that he got the booking, and then defending it, he were pretty solid all game as well. So a 7 for him. Folds gets a 5. Now I can be a bit harsh on Folds now and then, but I think he had about a minute in the game where he were really good. He played a good cross into a box, linked up with Isa for that minute, and we nearly scored from it. But recently he's just fallen off a cliff from October, September time when I thought he was performing and he was improving. But now when I just watch him, I think we just need a better left back. We need someone who's gonna bomb down that wing, get some crosses in, have a bit of pace, but also hopefully they can defend. But I don't think he's all that good defensively to cover for him not doing well going forward. But I think he has to start improving. But we have to be looking at bringing in a left back. But when we have Rydal who's out injured, does he prefer Rydal to Folds anyway? To bring in 3 left backs, I don't know if we'd do that, but we did it with a right back situation. When we had 4 in the building, we did offload 2 out on loan. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a position we need to improve on, and I don't think he's so good. But as a backup option, he's a good player. but I don't think he's good enough to start. Into midfield, Small gets 7. I thought he was really good again today, putting a few good crosses. The criticism I have of him is he shouldn't be on set pieces, but that's not his fault, is it really? Unless he started to take it off players. But I think today he could outplay a lot. He snaps into tackles, plays the simple pass, and calms the play down. And I think he's a bit underrated at times because, and definitely early on in the season when fans were figuring him out. Obviously he's walked down the tunnel early a couple of times, but I think he's a quality player for League Two. And we haven't had a player like that for years. I think last player who probably did that was probably Vince a lot maybe, but yeah, he's a really good player, and he even helped Halliday out a bit. But I think he's won a few tackles and he plays that simple pass, which helped us a bit because there were so many players who just couldn't pass the ball at times. They'd just play a simple pass and it'd keep us a bit more composed. Into the midfield, I think Gilead, could have had a better game. He could have been worse. It's an average 6. I thought he did a few good things in the game, but give the ball away a bit cheaply. But all in all, he's a player who, in that role, he'll run around a lot. He'll be a bit tenacious in tackles, but he ain't going to offer you too much going forward. And defensively, I don't think he has that out and out strength. Like a Songo, when he comes on the pitch, he has that strength and he can hold players off. Gilead doesn't do that, so he ain't got that defensive midfielder role, but he ain't the attacking midfielder either. So he's just average in that position, and maybe that's what we need. But I think Sutton were unlucky not to play, and I probably would have rather played Sutton instead of Gilead at the minute. Walker, he's got to get at least a 4, maximum a 4. I mean, he got sent off. He were creating bits, but he won't getting on the ball a lot. Give the ball away quite a fair bit as well. I'm gonna give him a 3, and I think that's the lowest I've give. But obviously he got sent off, and it was stupid, and it's probably cost us a game. And it would have, when he was on the pitch, won't create much of an impact anyway. So yeah, I'll give him a 3, which is quite low for my standards. But let me know what your player ratings as well. What would you give Walker? Number 10, I think we had Isa, although he was more of a left winger, which were another problem. The team and the formation was so unbalanced. The passing was going to be off a bit. We didn't seem to have a connection between the players. Maybe that's because Costello's new, and maybe that was the reason behind it. But we were very unbalanced in that game. And Isa, I'll give him a 7, and the man of match contender if it weren't for Lewis saving us. But I think Isa is a player who's got pace. He has a lot of strength as well. He had 2 and 2 previously. I think he could have had a penalty shout, but I've only seen it once, so I can't really talk about it. But he's lively and he gets on the ball and he gets you off your seat. So he's a good player. Did he create a lot? He created bits, but he didn't do enough really. And he ain't a number 10. I think if he played up front with Oliver, he would have been better. But as a number 10, he's always going to float out wide and pick up space in wider positions. So it didn't make sense seeing Isa as a number 10. I thought we were going to set up with the 4-2-3-1 and go back to that. But when I saw that we were playing 2 up, I was a bit surprised by that because Isa in at number 10, and they showed that today. Costello gets a 5. When he got on the ball, he looked average. His touch were a bit off it. He didn't really get in the game a lot. You could see that he has a lot of pace, and I think he has got quality. I think he will be a good player for us, hopefully in this short spell on loan. But it's hard. I'm not judging him off his first game, and I think he needs to win a game. So whether Hughes gives him that's the problem. We've got so many players in that position and so many attacking options, but for his debut to be quite poor, it's going to be hard for him to get back in the team and make a strong impact on the squad and keep his place. So it was quite a poor debut, but it is his debut, so it might take him a bit of time. He's only been in the club a day. Whether he's been having a load of training sessions, I don't know, but I thought he was quite poor today. Let me know what you think about Costello. Oliver gets a 6. I thought again I'd rather have him in the team than Cook, which is quite controversial. Obviously, Cook's scoring 16 goals, but I think he offers more than Cook, but he doesn't offer the goals that Cook's had this season. And I think the goals will come with Oliver, but what I think is I don't think Hughes wants Cook. His contract's running up at the end of the season. We haven't showed too much of an interest in renewing it, even when he was scoring a load of goals. I think he's 32, 33 now. He's getting on a bit. I don't think he's Hughes' type of striker. And Oliver links up with the team a lot more, holds the ball up, gives us a hype, a different option to cross the ball. It can out-strengthen, out-jump different defenders. So I think Oliver's more Hughes type of striker than Cook, and I think he could be out-favoured a bit. Be interesting to see, in a month or so, how Cook's playing in the team, if he is even not making the bench, because Derbyshire's to come back, Banks is to come back. There's a few players to come back from injuries, and a few players, to get a few more training sessions in them. It'll be interesting to see how Cook's doing in the team then. But a poor. I'm not going into her subs as well, but let me know your player ratings in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on the performance. I think it's 2 points drop, but you can't complain with a draw against 10 men. But I think the big thing is we've got to we've got to play Carlisle. We've got some big games coming up. It'll be interesting to see how we do with them games, how many points we pick up. Where we are in the league, because we could either fall off and maybe Hughes won't be here in March, or we could accelerate and leapfrog even Northampton maybe. But we need to get through those games and still be in the playoffs, and then I'll be confident. Be able to interest to see where we are. But the performance was poor in the first half. We weren't good enough. We didn't create enough chances again. We're not taking enough risks. And ultimately, we're not playing well enough to be winning games at the minute. But let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments down below. Have a good one.